if you do not understand white supremacy, what it is, and how it works, everything else that you do understand will confuse you. In all of these 9 areas of activity, economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and war. Anywhere on the planet, minute by minute, day by day, all of the time, all of the time, all of the time.
Good morning and welcome to the June the 27th, 2023 edition of the Counter Racist Code Show with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. My name is Mr. Bobby, and I am the co-host. And Mr. Fuller and myself, thank you for tuning in and listening and learning. Thank you so much. You don't have to do that, but you have taken the time to do that, and we want to respect your time. So thank you for listening to today's program. Now, to get in touch with today's program, all you need to do, and some of you have already started to do that, but this is the number that you get in contact with. It is 516-453-9921. Now, you can listen, or you have the option that you may ask a question and give a VGQ. If you do that, then you need to press the number 1 button so that you can get in line, and some have already have done that. So that's good. Now, if you are a first-time caller and you are new to the program, you're listening and something you don't understand or you would like to contribute, you dial that same number, you press that number 1 button, and make sure that you give the call screener your name and tell call screener that you are a first-time caller. And we have a special program set up just for you so that you will be heard. Okay, so that's good. Now, let's see, the second thing. If you don't want to use the phone, you can Gmail me at the numeral 7, Mr. Bobby, BOBBY, at gmail.com. And I will ask the question for you. However, it probably will not be today, but at some point in time, I will ask Mr. Fuller your question. So you can do that. And lastly, you can do this. You can join the chat room by going to blogtalkradio.com. You want to click on programs. And once you do that, then you click on the shows, and you will come across the Produce Justice show. That's what you want to do, get the Produce Justice show. And when you do that, the chat room becomes available to you, and you could get in the chat room and join the conversations in there. But let me caution you on this. When you're in the chat room and you want to speak to Mr. Fuller, do not ask me through the chat to ask Mr. Fuller your question. That is what the number is for, the phone number, and that is what the Gmail is for. However, there are times when I will select some subject matter that is maybe relevant to the program that we are doing, and I will ask a question or a comment may come out of there, and sometimes I will have Mr. Fuller address that comment. So, but for the not ask me a question to ask Mr. Fuller through the chat, it will not happen. Okay, let me see on the docket this morning. Oh, yes, this is very important. All the books, Mr. Fuller and I got an update this morning that all the books are in. We're ready to go. You hear that, Jacoby Duquesne? All the books are in, so you should not have any problem in getting any of the materials that you can get by going to producejustice.com. That is producejustice.com. You can go there and get that. A couple of things more. let's see here. Mr. Fuller's interview is now up from the Carl Nelson Show. It's up on our website at producejustice.com. You can get that right there, the full interview. And also, I don't know, many of you probably know, but for those who don't know, Mr. Fuller had the pleasure of being on the Rock Newman Show. I was informed of that a couple of days ago, and I listened to the interview on the Rock Newman Show, Mr. Fuller did, and it's very, very good. We have that on the web, on our website at producejustice.com, so you can hear that, both of those interviews, along with today's program. You can hear that at producejustice.com, Mr. Neely Fuller on the Rock Newman Show. Very, very good interview, if you would like to do that. Okay, I think that is all I have to do before we get started on today's program. If not, I'll mention it again when we have another break. Okay, now let's get with it. Let me first off by saying good morning, Mr. Fuller, and how are you?
Good morning. I'm still learning.
Okay, Mr. Fuller is still learning. Okay. All righty, here we go. Now, we have a segment that we call the Thoughts and Expressions on the Mind of Neely Fuller, Jr., and today being the 27th of June, 2023. Mr. Fuller, what is on your mind this morning that you would like to share with the listening audience?
Well, what's on my mind is I have to stay focused on what I'm supposed to be doing. The umbrella objective of this entire program is to replace the system of racism with the system of justice. Justice meaning just one thing in two parts, guaranteeing that no person is mistreated. But you can't have justice if anybody's being mistreated in any situation involving economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and war. If any person is being mistreated anywhere, it's a threat to everybody everywhere because mistreatment has a tendency to spread, like Martin Luther King said it best, that justice that is threatened anywhere, the production of it, because we don't have it anywhere on the planet, but people who say that they're trying to produce it, and people like even myself, if you got anybody mistreated, and the second part of the compensatory definition for justice, you can't have anybody who needs help who is not getting the most constructive help. We all need help. We want to make sure that the help that is needed, if people get it, that it has a constructive effect. And some people want help doing things that shouldn't be done, but that's not included. So you have no one being mistreated, and you have the person that needs help the most in any area of activity getting the most constructive help that the brains of this world can provide. Because the people who are the brainiest, and that's the main thing I'm going to focus on, because several people have called in, and a number of people, I guess, have emailed and said, Fuller talks too much about what the problem is, and particularly where black people are concerned, and he criticizes black people. It seems like he just dumps everything on us. And that's not what I should be doing, according to me. And in fact, I call myself doing just the opposite. Now, I do make suggestions about what black people should not be doing,
because it's harmful. And it's not in the interest of the production of justice. But if the emphasis is, and I say that part, when I say that, when I do it, I'm not doing it with the intention of sounding like I'm just dumping all the problems of the world on black people. No, I call myself trying to do just the opposite. I'm dumping all the problems on the world on the white people who believe in white supremacy. Because I say they are the brainiest people on the planet. So that's what I'm going to stick with and emphasize even more so. Because I don't want people to have the impression that I'm just trying to say things to make black people feel bad. No, we're trying to solve, I hope we all are trying to solve whatever problems there are and the best way to go about doing them. So even with white people, I don't want to give white people the impression that I'm just trying to find ways to say derogatory things about white people, to make myself feel good or to make other black people feel good about that. No, it's not about feeling good. It's about correcting evil and doing the things that need to be done on the part of black people and white people, the non-white people, and all of the white people, everywhere on the planet, in every area of activity, whether it's in the Ukraine or Nigeria or Brazil or Paraguay or Chile or Canada or wherever people happen to be. Produce justice, balance between people, guarantee that no one is mistreated wherever you are. If it's just 6 people in a room, find out if anybody's being mistreated. This is the United Independent way. You do what you can as an individual person right where you are. So the question every morning to every person, white or non-white, the people that you're looking at, the people who are interacting with you on a job right now or wherever you happen to be, riding in the carpool, is anybody in this car that's being mistreated? I mean, we ride together all the time, every morning and whatnot. And is anybody who needs help? If you're on that type of first-name basis with people in the carpool, anybody that needs help. Everybody might say, you better believe I need help. I mean, I had 1,000 things to do before I got in this car to go to work. And I got 1,000 things to do when I get back where I was and I don't know how to approach any of those things I got to do, including I'm going to hold on to this job, having to go the distance I have and just barely making it to work. If I can't get in this carpool, I'm in trouble. So you got to show up every day, Will. And I'm just giving that as an illustration. This what you call the small things, because the small things add up to be big things. So the compensatory way is, which means making up for what's missing. What's missing is things are not the way that they ought to be. Now, we all know that. Nothing is working the way that it should, particularly when it comes to interaction with people. Now, all the evidence and all the complaints show that. So that's my focus. And starting off with that, I'm centering on, and I'm going to double down and triple down on the smartest people on the planet. Now, a lot of black people claim that they're smart. And rather than push back on that or sound like that's what I'm doing, I'm saying let the smart people, not the Neely Fullers, let the smartest people on planet Earth right this minute in 2023, on this day, the smartest people on the planet. The compensatory way is the smartest people should be the first in line in solving problems. And I want to emphasize that, since the question has been asked, what's on my mind this morning. The smartest people on the planet, white and non-white, if you are consider yourself to be, and a lot of black people are chomping at the bit to say that they jump on me about it. They're saying, you're always acting like black people are so dumb. We got a whole lot of smart black people. And all this thing about white supremacy and whatnot, that's just a lot of hogwash. I mean, everything is fine. And you're just making people angry about nothing. And not a whole lot, not most, I don't want to say. Black people say that, but some do. And I'm saying to those some, the smartest people, I have just one question, white and non-white. Who are you, where are you, by name, the smartest people on the planet, the smartest, not the second smartest or the 10th, the smartest people as individuals on this planet right now. On this program, I'm saying this question is being asked, and I'm saying everybody else should ask it. Let the smartest people talk, do the talking, and do the acting about doing what? Solving the race problem. That's what. Why haven't they done it? That should be our question to everybody. When you go to a seminar and all like that, just ask, who's the smartest person in this room? Let that person hold up their hand. If there's 1 million people in that room, is the room big enough to hold 1 million? Who's the smartest people in this 1 million people? There might be a whole lot of other people out there who are smart, but among this millions of people, or this 2 million or 3 million who are assembled here, white and black, white and non-white, male, female, or others, old people, young people, who are the smartest? Let the smartest weave through the crowd and come to the podium. Nobody but the absolute smartest in this crowd. You know who you are, because if you're the smartest, you know that much. Okay? If you're the smartest, and you've answered the first question by showing up on the podium. I'm the smartest. Well, we got one question for the smartest, according to the code. Why haven't you solved the race problem? And everybody be quiet and listen. Because there's a reason why the smartest people on the planet haven't solved the race problem. I know Neely hasn't solved it. And his reason is he doesn't want to bad enough, or he doesn't know how. That's the only logical conclusion you can come to. I don't know how to solve the race problem. That's why I haven't solved it. So I'm nowhere near the smartest. I'm not even token. Because the race problem is nowhere close to being solved. And everybody can, if they want to tell the truth, testify to that. Now that's what's on my mind, and I'm going to keep pushing that. Why haven't the smartest people on the planet, when that white professor gets up and starts talking about where he's been and what he knows and this, that, and the other, and everybody's listening, somebody in the crowd should say, sir or ma'am, why haven't you solved the race problem? You are listed as one of the smartest people in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Christopher Edley of Columbia University said a couple of decades ago, according to what I remember, and I hope I'm quoting him correctly. He said, racism isn't rocket science. is harder than rocket science. And I've thought about that ever since. So this is not easy, but that's what's on my mind.
All righty. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Fuller. I'm going back to my old AM radio days. I think about Curtis Mayfield's song. Since you mentioned the word, Mr. Fuller, keep on pushing. That's what Curtis Mayfield said. Keep on pushing. Well, keep on pushing this. Okay. Let's see here. Let's do this. Justice Warrior, I like your comment, and I think what I'm going to do, just in case it gets away from me, I want you to remind me of it because I'm going to ask Mr. Fuller a question about your comment. Thank you, Rita 888, and correct and constructive action items. Man, they do their thing. Okay, with respect to Cleo, I got you, Cleo. Blacktop in New York, Brother Muko, Mr. Care Unit Man himself. With respect to you guys, I'm going to introduce a new caller from California. Now, out there, it's, 6:21 a.m., so we're going to move her right up. This is a new caller alert. Get ready, Stephanie. I'm getting ready to line you up here. Give me a minute here so I can get this thing on par here. Come on there, Mr. Bobby. Can't get it. Okay, wait a minute. Stephanie, I'm trying to fix it so I can. Now it went too far. That's okay. Wait a minute. Up. Okay. Oh, yeah. Ooh, man, Luke in the Bronx and Corey in Milwaukee. Okay. All of them are there today. Good. Okay, Stephanie, get ready. Get ready. You can be heard, and here we go. Stephanie, new caller alert from California. You are on with Mr. Fuller. Go ahead.
Well, good morning, Mr. Fuller. It's very early here, so yes, please pardon me. And good morning, everyone. Now, your question about why haven't the smart people come up to the front to solve the problem? For years, for decades, I have been promoting eating well, exercising, taking care of the body, mind, because we need that first to solve any problems. We have to have energy, and the body is the only way that we can get energy. And I had promoted eating, good food, organic food, exercise, and moving the body. Now that I'm in my senior years and I look back on my friends, they're in bad shape. They're really in bad shape. And then another one that I was trying to promote was education. How can you solve a problem if you don't even know there is a problem? So I spent years in trying to tell people about Black history. We came from Africa, so on and so forth. So I guess my question is that I guess it's not a question, but I have been trying to do that. And then you solved my question. You answered my question about smart people. That was my question, and you answered that. So I'm done.
Okay, well, that's what we call, Mr. Fuller calls a VGQ, and we do thank you for your VGQ. Mr. Fuller, can you tell her what those initials stand for, VGQ?
VGQ, according to the compensatory code, which is what I do, means Victims Guaranteed Qualification. Now, what does that mean? It's something I made up. Victims Guaranteed Qualification. And it means if you are a victim, if you consider yourself to be a victim of the system of white supremacy, you are qualified, just by being a victim, to say anything that you want to say, anything that you think should be said about race, racism, or counter-racism, and no one should step forward and say you're not qualified to talk about it. And you're a victim of it? If you're a victim of an evil, you're qualified to say anything that you want to say or feel compelled to say or just choose to say about race, racism, or counter-racism. Counter-racism means you're against racism. You're qualified. So anybody who steps forward and says, you're not qualified to talk about that, that's not true. Just by being a victim of it, you're for sure, more than anybody, qualified to say anything you wish to say, anything you want to say about your status as a victim or anything else.
Yes, sir.
Simply by being a victim, because you're not supposed to be a victim of racism ever or any other type of mistreatment. Racism is just about mistreatment. That's what it is. Not some type of ornament. It's about being mistreated. And it's not a black person on planet Earth who is not being mistreated right now in 2023, directly and indirectly, by the existence of racism in the form of something called the system of white supremacy. It's designed to mistreat people of color deliberately. And it's an evil, a supreme evil.
All righty. Stephanie, thank you for your call. New caller alert, Stephanie. Don't be a stranger. All right, we'll speak at you at another time. That was Stephanie from California. Wow, she got up early, 6:26 out there in the morning. Hey, listen, I'm going to go right through the call, so let me do this. Let's take a station break, and then we'll jump right in it. You are listening to the Counter Racist Code Show with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr., and I am your co-host, Mr. Bobby, and we thank you. We sincerely thank you for listening. We do not want to misuse or take advantage or take for granted your time that you spend in forming your questions and asking and participating in the show. So we do sincerely thank you. Now, for those who are new and those who have a question, call this number, 516-453-9921. Call that number, okay? When you do, if you have a question, just press the number 1 button and you can be heard. So when the call screener, make sure you give the call screener your name, then just wait patiently until your rotation comes up and you're in. If you are a first-time caller, as Stephanie was, just press that number 1 button also, but give the call screener your name and tell the call screener that you are a new caller, and man, we got something worked out for you. That's good. Okay, number 2. You can also Gmail me at the numeral 7, Mr. Bobby, BOBBY, @gmail.com. Now, probably it will not be read on today's program, but I will read it and at some other time, and I will let you inform you of that, as Ray did this morning. Ray, I don't know if I will get to your question today, but I got you down, and I did respond to that. Okay. And 3, lastly, you can go into the chat room, and all you have to do is go to blogtalkradio.com. Make sure that you click on, I think it's programs. Yeah, programs. Yeah, click on programs, and then you'll come up with the Produce Justice show. Click that bad boy on, and then the chat room is available for you. You get in there, and you click that, you get in there, and you are on. And occasionally I will select a question or a comment from the chat room and have Mr. Fuller address that, and then we'll go on with the day's program. Oh, yeah, 2 important things, especially for the new callers, but for all who may not have been at the beginning. Mr. Fuller is on our web address, that is at producejustice.com. The interview that we got messed up for the Carl Nelson show, the days got confused. Guess what? I'm going to take the fault for that. Okay, blame me. Okay, I did it. Okay, I apologize. Okay, but that interview is on producejustice.com, and this is a new one. If you haven't already heard, and many of you probably have, Mr. Fuller was on the Rock Newman show, an outstanding interview. Robert and the team have put it together, and it is also on our web at producejustice.com. So make sure, if you haven't heard it, give it a listen. It's good. All righty. And speaking about producejustice.com, the book material which is the book is is called The United Independent Code System Concept. That book is also available at ProduceJustice.com, and Mr. Fuller and myself was informed this morning that all, as capital A, capital L, all the books are in, so you should have no problem in obtaining the book. It's in. It's in. Okay. All right. I believe that is all. Okay, now before I go to the calls, I said I would do this. Okay, this came from Justice Warrior in Mr. Fuller's opening comment about the smartest people. Justice Warrior wrote, not true, Mr. Fuller. The reason why you haven't solved the race problem is because it's contingent upon thousands to millions of others taking your message and running with it. It's not all on you to do so, for no men can solve this issue alone. That was from Justice Warrior in the chat room. And he also wrote this. This was before that. He said, Mr. Fuller, your listening audience here are among the smartest people on the planet because we understand the system of white supremacy and are strategizing daily on how to upend it. Mr. Fuller, have you ever thought about that instead of looking to some random elitist, white supremacist, or Negroes with multiple college degrees? Have you ever thought about that, Mr. Fuller?
Yes, I think I've thought about every aspect of that. That's why I said what I said.
Okay.
That's the best approach. If after the people who are listening now think about it. Because everybody is, lots of people, millions of people talk about it. I turn on TV and turn on the radio nonstop and pick up whatever information I can off the Internet. And people show me a film and whatnot. I look at movies. I'm steady going.
Okay.
Steady. And trying to get more and more information. And there's
Yes,
a lot of people who are working on the race issue. But a lot of people are trying to shout each other down about, elbowing each other out of the way. Give me the mic. Let me talk. And I'm just making a suggestion that I think is kind of unique. Wait a minute. Neely Fuller, shut up until we find out who the smartest people on the planet are. Get that straight.
Mm-hmm.
There are some people who, when you test their intelligence, they are problem solvers like you wouldn't believe. Any problem you hand them, they can solve it.
Okay.
I mean, that's what I've heard. There's always
Yes,
somebody who's smarter than somebody else.
Okay.
So, with all the brains that are on the entire planet, you might find them in some village in Czechoslovakia or wherever, and say, we're going to give you some information about something called the race problem. You haven't been working on it. You've been doing something else and solving a whole lot of problems, millions of problems, because you're a super brain. Find out who that person is and say, now, I'm going to give you something called a race problem, something people have been grappling with forever, and everybody elbowing each other out of the way, talking about, give me the mic. I got some ideas, too, like the Neely Fullers of the world. Get rid of all these amateurs and get a professional, all the professional counter racers on the planet. And even if you get a committee of them, the smartest people on the planet, and they set being the smartest people on the planet, they'll say, give us 6 months, because they'll know what to give themselves, because the rest of us are dumb. I mean, we haven't solved nothing. We keep talking about it, but we don't come up with solutions to things that people ask me to do. I'm trying to, but trying ain't going to cut it. I mean, in 2023, that whole thing about trying to solve the race problem, that's out the window.
Okay.
Nobody should be given credit for trying. In other words, it ain't like football. You don't get paid for yardage. You either make it across the goal line or you didn't. You either
Okay.
solved the problem or you didn't. And that should be 2023 and from here on. We're not looking for people who can make excellent speeches and all that. We've had that, been there and done that, and not taking credit away from anybody. Frederick Douglass, Martin Luther King, Fannie Lou Hamer, any of the millions of black people, male and female, who have gone before us and died, many of them shot down in the struggle. Mm-hmm. But in 2023, if you're going to hog the microphone now, you should say, hey, I got the problem solved, and I'm fixing it. Mm-hmm. And you all can just wake up tomorrow morning, and it's solved, because that's what solutions are about.
Yes, sir. Okay.
People wanted to go to the moon, and when you woke up, they told you, hey, we're there. While you were talking about it and all like that and saying that's a good idea and writing songs about the moon, it must be trillion songs all about the moon, everybody moonstruck. But we went. Why? Because we are problem solvers. I mean, the moon's been there forever. Nobody came along and went there with people singing about going there and all like that. Say, but we just did the math and said, hey, we're going.
Yes,
That's
sir.
it. And it didn't take them no time from the time that they started talking seriously about doing it. Why? They were the brainiest people, that's why.
Okay.
For going to the moon. Now, the race problem can be solved. Let the smartest people on the planet, because Dr. Chris said, they said, hey, racism ain't rocket science. It's harder than rocket science. So that means you got to have some brains. I mean, just putting on some kente cloth and grabbing the mic. You got to have a whole lot more than that.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Fuller, so much. Okay, J2K2, I'm glad you got your book, so now the rest of the universe knows that you got the book from ProduceJustice.com. All is well. That's a good thing. All righty. Oh, one more thing, and then we'll go. Anybody that is familiar with WVON 1680 AM out of Chicago, I was informed by Daryl Weston that a friend that used to call in when Mr. Fuller did a show on Talktainment Radio, he was affectionately known as the Extermination Man. Daryl said that he was on that station, WVON 1690 in Chicago. I understand that he said that he didn't know how to get in contact with Mr. Fuller so he could give his comments. So anybody that's in the listening audience, especially in the Chicago area, you tell Mr. Extermination Man, because I do not know his name and we call him that, or you named him that affectionately, tell him to go to ProduceJustice.com and he can hear all of what he missed from Mr. Fuller. Okay, that's 1680 WVON 1690 AM Chicago. Okay, Cleo, I know you ready, man. Come on. Give me your introduction. Cleo, here we go. Houston. And Cleo is in the DA house. Go ahead, Cleo.
Good morning, everyone. Long live NFJ and forever live Logic. Thank you, Mr. Bobby, Robert, Sharon, Moonpie, and the entire TRCS crew for your ongoing partnership with Mr. Fuller in this very important life work. Mr. Fuller, what are your thoughts about claims that most blacks are not descendants of those enslaved from Africa, but rather descendants of the various Aboriginal Indian tribes of the Northwestern Hemisphere?
Well, what I say is there's just three categories of people on the entire planet, according to what I've figured out so far, and that is white people, non-white people, and white supremacists. And you have to be a white person in order to be eligible to be a white supremacist. But the white supremacists are the most powerful of those three categories: white people, non-white people and white supremacists. They have thought up a system that's the most powerful political and religious system, has proven to be ever produced in the minds of the people of what we call planet Earth. And so the compensatory approach is not to try to chop it up into aboriginals and all like that, because everybody's aboriginal, meaning, paying attention to words, which the code says, always pay attention to words. What does aboriginal mean? And they say, well, the original people that are in a certain place at a certain time. Well, that could be almost anybody, since people have traveled all over the planet at one time, because the land masses have changed and the oceans have changed. Because some people say that people have been here in one form or another for thousands and thousands of years, and some people say even for millions of years. A million years, that's a lot of years, just 1 million. Not to say anything about 2 or 3 million. If you're talking about years, 365 days in a year by some calendars, that's a long, long time. And people have been everywhere. That's why when people start talking about burial grounds and preserving burial grounds, well, everywhere you step, if you're being logical, which codification is about being logical at all times. Every place, if you walk anywhere, even on the bottom of the ocean, you are walking on a burial ground for some people who were here millions of years ago. We don't think about things like that. See, we've been taught by the white supremacists always think in these little small boxes. And we become Negrofied, to use a kind of an unpopular phrase. That is to think small. Always think small. So you have to think large. You think about everything on a larger scale. I've been trying just to get black people, including people who teach school, to stop accusing America of doing anything, because Americans have never existed. I'm going to say that again. Not one American, not even Amerigo Vespucci, has ever existed, if you go by the definition of what an American is. The compensatory, which means by compensatory, the true definition. The true definition of an American is the same as an African or an Asian. I call it the 3 A's. American, African, Asian. They are people, but they don't exist. They never have existed. These are labels that mean the same thing. People who practice justice.
Yes.
And since no one can practice justice in the system of white supremacy, there are no such people on planet Earth in 2023 that can correctly now, according to logic, be called accurately and truthfully Americans, Africans, or Asians. These people do not exist and never have, because no one in recorded history has ever practiced justice, because as long as people have been here, unless you use the Bible story of Adam and Eve, some people say that people came before that according to some religions, but ever since people haven't practiced justice, meaning guaranteeing that no person is mistreated and guaranteeing that the person that needs help the most gets the most constructive help, there's nothing in recorded history that says that's true. Black people, even in ancient times, as far back as what I have read, the tribes, mostly it's what all people were, you had tribal wars. The so-called indigenous people were killing each other here. Arrows. They weren't just for killing animals. And sometimes Indians would brag, dance around a fire or whatever, about their warriors. Well, if they were warriors, war against whom? Other Indians. And sometimes wars against themselves. Family members mistreat each other. Adam and Eve wound up setting the stage for mistreatment. That was a long time ago. Adam and Eve, according to what biblical scholars say, they had a couple of sons, Cain and Abel. Mistreatment, right there. One killed the other. How much mistreatment can you get? And we're still doing that and bragging about it. Black people bragging about being killers. Writing songs about being killers. So nobody has bragging rights. That's another thing. All this grabbing the mic and start talking about we're great people and all like that. Nobody. What do you mean by great? Were you great at practicing justice? No, it's no record of that. So nobody's great in that department. So we just need to shut up about that. Now that's solid code. Black people bragging about being black, you didn't have anything to do with it. What are you bragging about? Having rainbow pride and strutting up and down the street. Well, I'm bragging about I'm a male and I can look like a female, and I'm bragging. I want to have pride in that, and I want you to have pride in me for having pride in that. I have just one question about all of that I just said. What does that help to do that is of constructive value?
Yes, sir.
Someone's telling me how proud they are of anything. Where is the constructive value in that? That's the question. Because everything that we do is supposed to have constructive value. Now, where is the constructive value in anything that we do? Because if we can't say what's constructive about what we're doing, why are we doing it? And particularly if we're bragging about it, no one should be bragging about anything as messed up as this world is, white or non-white. Now, this is solid code.
Yes, sir. The
code says don't ever brag about anything. If you solve a problem, don't parade up and down the street about solving a problem. That's what you're here for. Breathe a sigh of relief and then look around for the next problem that's coming and try to solve that. Whenever you solve a problem, just breathe a sigh of relief and said, I did what I was supposed to do. That's why I was born, to solve problems. We know that. Otherwise, we would be born without problems. So that's our assignment. So what are we bragging about? Because we solved the problem when that was your assignment? That's why you have breath in your body and have a body for breath to be in? See, these are questions. That's a compensatory way of doing things. Everything is questions and answers.
Yes, sir. Okay.
So we got questions now that's got to be coming in. I'm waiting. I hope I'm not wasting nobody's time putting these out there.
That's okay. I
don't think everybody asked for that.
Yeah,
but I have to put that out there because we got to stay focused on what we are here for.
Yes, sir. Okay, Cleo, thank you for your question. Listen, as you study the code book, and with respect with what Mr. Fuller said about Vespucci, you may want to check out the man by the name of Mansa Abukari II. He's the brother or cousin of Mansa Musa, who was allegedly the richest man. He was a black man in the world. Check it out. They were before Vespucci, at least 200 years, in regard to the statement you made about native Indians. I think they were called native black people. Anyway, check that out and see what you have to say about that. Thank you for your call. Okay, New York City's in the house. We got the top, and we going to the top with Black Top. Black Top, man, you on. Go ahead, Black Top.
You hear me?
Come on. Yeah, come on with it.
Okay, so I want to say hello to Mr. Fuller. I have another question about the 8th area of activity. You know, in today's society, there seems to be a fascination and at the same time a revulsion with black people and sexuality. Now, this is especially in the case of black men. For instance, there's a huge theme in adult films and things of that nature that has black men with women classified as white. And it seems to be like the ultimate taboo. What is it with the white supremacists? Why do they have this fascination and revulsion of this coming together, this Congress, so to speak?
How? I don't understand the question. Is there any way that you can maybe ask the question again?
Yeah, sure.
That's my fault. I do this all the time. Every time anybody asks a question, and I don't know what it is, but for some reason I'm not picking up what the question is. So
okay, what I'm saying
kind of bear with me.
There seems to be, what I'm saying is that there seems to be an asphyxiation or almost like a fascination with black people and sexuality. You talk about it often. If the white supremacists have it to some degree, there seems to be.
Okay. Let's take the first part of that first. That's the best way I can do it. It seems to be that there's a problem, and the problem is what?
There's a fascination, but at the same time a revulsion.
The assassination?
No, not assassination, sir. A fascination and a revulsion at the same time. So it's tugging in two different directions.
A fascination?
Yes, sir.
Oh, that's the word. See, I didn't pick up on that word. It sounded like you were saying assassination. See, so that might be my hearing. It seems to be a fascination with what?
With black people and their sexuality. You talk about
with
it a lot.
Black people and their sexuality.
But I want to make a point
whom?
here. To a certain degree with the white supremacists, because not only are they fascinated, they're also revolted. Now, in the world of adult-themed films, things of that nature, there seems to be a big thing among the white supremacists. They promote black men. They promote movies where black men are in Congress with white men. Do you understand what I'm saying?
They're promoting movies where black males are doing what?
In sexual Congress with white women.
Or in sexual Congress with white women?
Yeah, yes, but mostly any woman that's not classified as black or not classified as non-white, but particularly white women.
Sure.
Okay, let me finish my question.
It's not a fascination. The white supremacists are doing this deliberately to give the illusion that black males, what you call the alpha male, the male who is what you call, consider himself a man, a real man, not an imitation woman, okay, pair him with a white woman, and that this is the norm. That's the propaganda. This is not the norm.
Okay.
Basically, the white supremacists, male and female, are pushing this image, just like they are pushing black males to want to be females, and they are pushing black females to want to be males. Now, we already got black females, and we already got black males. So why are they pushing this? Because it's good for the business of white supremacy. Why? Why is it good for the business of white supremacy? Because it's confusion. That's what. They're coming up with almost by the week, every week, a new type of sexuality, and they want black people to lead the parade. And it is working like a charm everywhere. Because the younger black people, some of the older ones are just puzzled and beaten down, and we don't even know what to say about it. But the younger black people are picking it up because, hey, it's like a fad and whatnot. And oh yeah, I mean, you don't want to be no male. I mean, you know, that's a miscue. Somebody misfired there. Somebody really messed up. I mean, you got to cuss the creator out. I mean, I ain't, my mind ain't there. I mean, so the white supremacists make a whole bunch of movies and advertisements and whatnot and put the rainbow on it, make it look pretty. And they say, now, you black males need to give up on being men. I got something for you. Go clean out your sister's closet and clean out your closet and give all of your male garb to your sister and your mother. And make males out of them as best you possibly can. Figure out what to do to become one. And you take all those dresses and whatnot and put them on yourself. And you will have improved black people's sexuality. This is an improvement. This is not something that's, you know, to be thrown aside or something odd. This is not something to be considered weird. This is mainstream. Black males should be females. Get that through your thick Negro head. And black females should be black males. And ain't that a wonderful world? Why? It serves the purpose of the system of white supremacy. If we get all of you on board with that, we got you for the next 1,000 years. And here in the year 2023, it's working like a charm because we finance that to the hilt. You show any signs of wanting to try something else other than being a man, because being a man is hard. I mean, it's hard. I mean, you can't kill enough black people to prove your manhood. And so a lot of you begin to realize that, and you're getting exhausted from trying to do it in the ghetto, just killing each other.
Mm-hmm.
And so the only thing left now is just give up on being a man, because it's rough. It's rough being a man if you're black.
Mm-hmm. Finish your thought, Black Top.
Okay, so, yeah, and one more question. Just one more question. It seems to be two things. These whites, they're starting to pursue black people to a lesser degree, but for whatever reason, it seems like most of the ones that do are, in some people's estimation, lower quality, homely, sickly. Is there any particular reason? Obese? So that's the case?
Hold it. Are you? The question is there a reason for people being obese?
No,
what are you saying?
When you see these types of couples that you were just talking about, it seems like the non-black person involved tends to be homely or obese. Is there any particular reason for that?
all of the defects that black people have come from the white supremacists. We are their children. They teach us everything. Gang banging and all like that. We didn't know anything about it. You don't know anything about that when you come out of the womb. You learn that. And they are our greatest teachers. Now, a lot of black people say, oh, that ain't so. I had all black teachers all the way. I ain't never had not a single white teacher. Who taught the black teachers? You ever think of that? That's the question. See, we have to think at least around corners.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, be able to see the unseen. The hidden hand. It's always there.
Yes.
The white supremacists. In every area of activity, 24/7. They burn midnight oil all the time, figuring out how to master everything, every grain of sand at the bottom of the ocean.
Yes.
And if they lose people doing it, going to the bottom of the ocean, they'll send some more down until they finally get done whatever they're going to do. The white supremacists of this world are the most persistent people that the world has ever seen. They don't give up.
Yes, sir. Okay.
And that's something we got to learn.
Something we got to learn. Okay, we're way over. But that thing you just said, Mr. Fuller, about that hand that you can't see, that's a book by Ralph Upperman, I believe. It's called The Unseen Hand. The Unseen Hand. Good book about what they do. Listen, we're way over on what we have to do. So let me thank you for listening to the first hour of the Counter Racist Code Show with Mr. Neely Fuller. Thank you. If you have to go, thank you. Don't be a stranger. Call in again next week and hear what Mr. Fuller, has to say. But we thank you for your time that you spent to do that. But for those who are on the line and those who are going to stay, we have another hour or so remaining in the program. So stay there, and we'll be right back in 5 seconds. All righty. Thank you for holding, and thank you for being for the second hour of the Counter Racist Code Show with Mr. Neely Fuller, Jr. I am your co-host, Mr. Bobby. Now, to get in contact with the show, please call this number, which is 516-453-9921. Please, ma'am, please, sir, even if you have to take the phone away from your face a little, be clear so that Mr. Fuller can hear the question and give the answer to your question. Okay, and if you are a first-time caller, press the number 1 button again and then give the call screen of your name. You are part of the new caller alert, and we will get you on, so you will be heard. Okay, all the books and materials are all in. We got the, I was going to say memo, but actually we were told this morning, Mr. Fuller and I, that everything is up and running, so you should have no problem in ordering the books or getting the material out. That's at ProduceJustice.com. Also, when you go to ProduceJustice.com, there are 2 interviews on there. One for the program that I erroneously messed up, saying that you can listen to Mr. Fuller on Friday when it was a Thursday. I'm going to take responsibility for that. It was my mess up. Anyway, we got that fixed. That's up on the website. And also, Mr. Fuller's, I believe it was last week, I'm not sure what the date was, but he was on the Rock Newman show. Good interview. We fixed it so, or Robert and them and the team fixed it so that interview is also on the web address at ProduceJustice.com. That's ProduceJustice.com. Now, you can also Gmail me at the numeral 7, Mr. Bobby, BOBBY, at gmail.com. And lastly, you can go into the chat room. All you have to do is go to blogtalkradio.com. You want to click on programs, and when you do that, click on where it says shows, and then scroll down to the Produce Justice show. You click that, and then the chat room is available for you to get in, and some of the conversations are really, really engaging. So make sure you want to do that. Okay, Muko and Corey and Luke and what is that? Deontay of Detroit. Listen, before we go on, Mr. Fuller's program is called the Counter Racist Code Show. And he says this every week, and I don't know if we really get that from, but do you know that every problem that we have can be solved if you do one thing? Every problem. First, I didn't believe it, but it's true. What is that? Produce justice. Justice will solve every single problem that we can have. Why don't you try it? Justice to do it. Okay, justice. Not the kind Richard Pryor talked about, anybody in here but just us. Brother Muko, the care unit man, I'm telling you, man, you are on Mr. Fuller. Go ahead, bro.
Greetings, Mr. Bobby and Mr. Fuller. Shout out to my care units all around the world, care unit on Twitter. I had a BGQ that I'm going to try to make really brief, and I had two questions for Mr. Fuller. First, I wanted to thank Mr. Fuller for his close to a century worth of work that he has been consistently sticking to, in my opinion. So thank you for your work, Mr. Fuller. My question is for my care unit on Twitter. Can you please expound on why it is important not to forget that every problem that non-white people have, according to counter-racist logic, is the white supremacist fault? And I'll after you answer that question, I'll ask you my second question.
What it comes down to, if that's not true, and this is the way that the logic works, I say always follow the logic. Don't follow people. Logic is how the universe runs. You find out the people who teach you things. You see if they're being logical. Because if it's anything that you're being taught by anybody, they have to go to logic to get it if it's worth anything. 1 and 1 is 2. It applies to everybody. 2 pencils on a desk is different from 1 pencil on a desk. That's logical. How many pencils are on the desk? That's a question. Because logic is all about what? Questions and answers, including on this program. All problems are solved through the process of questions and answers. It's just a matter of how many questions and how many answers. But all problems are solved through the process of questions and answers. How many questions and answers? As many as it takes to solve the problem. Now, this is the logic of the entire codified process. And in answer to the question, that's how it's all done. Questions and answers. That's basically, don't turn loose to that. Questions and answers. Questions and answers. As soon as you get an answer to one question, have another question ready. Until when? Until all questions are answered. That's the process. The process is very simple. And that's what codification is all about, questions and answers. Right here on this program, it's questions and answers. If you don't have answers to the questions, you're going to have problems, because the problems are there before the answers to the questions of how to solve the problems are generated. That has to be produced. Yeah. How do you solve that problem? Is there a problem? These are questions. There are answers to that. For every problem that there is an answer to that problem. Just because you don't know what the answer is means that there is going to be a problem, because you're supposed to know the answer to every question. And the fact that you ask that question means you don't have the answer. but the answer exists somewhere in the universe. And you use logic to get that answer. And what's the logical process? Ask the question. The answer is somewhere.
All right.
Now, the formula is, and I just want to say this is important. The formula for getting an answer to the question is ask the question and keep asking it. Don't give up on asking the question until when the answer to the question arrives. Because the logic is whomever is asking the question, the answer to the question is somewhere out there in the universe, and it gravitates. And there's plenty of experiments that have proven that.
Yes, sir.
The answer gravitates toward the source of the question. Mm-hmm. The answer starts coming. If you're the person asking the question, the answer starts coming toward you. It might be slow, but it's coming. All you have to do is just keep asking.
Okay. Brother Muko, hang on for a second. All right, Mr. Fuller, you just said that. Okay. Now, this program is called, basically Produce Justice. So the answer to the question that somebody have about anything like that, do what? Produce justice. That's what this program is, Produce Justice. How do you do that? You wrote a book on how to do, suggestions how to do that.
Yes,
Produce
because
justice.
I haven't done it. See, but I have suggestions, which I think is the logical procedure for doing it.
Got it.
And I think it's the most logical. I didn't start out to write a book. I wanted somebody to write a book telling me what to do. Everybody was writing books telling me about what's happening. And so that was information.
Yes.
And I knew I needed that information. You got to find out what's happening first.
Yes.
So all of the books that are written, all of the books are written about slavery and the latest, CRT controversy and all of this. There should be more of that, more information about the truth. Then once you get that, you say, what is the problem? That's the question. The problem is the system of racism.
Yes.
Well, now, how do you solve it? Through the process of questions and answers. That's what we're doing on this program right now. We're trying to come up with solutions. And the book itself, you can get by going to producejustice.com, is supposed to help all of us.
Yes, sir. Okay.
To solve that problem, since nobody has done it.
Okay. All right. Brother Muko, what's your second and final question?
Okay. My second and final question is going to start sounding like a statement, but I want to just suggest this. You asked the question of, I think maybe it was last week, of why the race problem wasn't solved. And I honestly, from reading your book vigorously, Mr. Fuller, and the late Francis Cress Welding, who rests in power, I've been really paying detailed attention to your work. And your suggestions are very, very sound and logical, but I know, and I'm going to repeat, I know that most of my care unit have not read the book. I know you purchased it, and I know a lot of people might have a lot of strong words against what I'm saying right now, but I can clearly see that no one has really been paying attention to the book because you don't use the language like administrative sabotage, administrative slavery, administrative terrorism, administrative espionage, the total and correct use of the word money that Mr. Fuller suggests in his book. Real details. And I don't see any of my care unit using these terms, but they use terms like micro and macro aggressions, which is not in the code book. Okay? The book is full of codes and full of suggestions that will eliminate racism and produce a thing called justice. So I want to ask you, Mr. Fuller, can you please expound on my care unit all around the world, because I have about 10 or 11 care units. I want you to explain to them the importance of a conversation, asking questions and shutting your mouth and not helping with the answers. And I want to stay on the line, Mr.
Right. Thank you, Brother Muko.
Bob Jackson. Thank you.
Mr. Fuller?
Well, Steve, first thing I want to make clear is that what Neely Fuller has written is not dictatorship. I'm not telling black people what to do. I'm just making suggestions.
Correct.
And the suggestions are they don't even have to use any of the terms that are in the book. I mean, the book just leads people even to say what I just said. You can look at them and don't use any of them. But what the book is really saying, because there are thousands of words that are not in the book anyhow, but they could be in there, including micromanagement or something like that. That's not in the book. But when someone else uses the term, always ask the person, what do you mean by that? See, it all comes down to this one thing, questions and answers.
Questions and answers, yes, sir.
See, that's the main thing in response to the caller here. That's the main thing that people are supposed to get out of the book and out of these talks that I make every week. The main thing is don't assume that you know the answers to questions. That'll keep you in the mood and in the frame of mind for always asking questions.
Mm-hmm.
And nonstop. I mean, whether you're talking to Neely Fuller or whatnot, what do you mean by micromanagement? That's if you're on the job anywhere. Just get in the habit of doing that. That's all you have to do. Get in the habit of asking questions, endless questions. And it works magic. It really does.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it does it for me. When I forget to ask questions and start thinking that I'm going to make a statement, I try to make that statement, take that statement and turn it into a question. If I'm in meetings and all like that, I will stop and think. I want to say something. What's the best way for me to say it? And it always turns out to be the best way is to ask a question. And I found that, oh boy, it's like, I mean, everything just starts happening behind my question. Or everything comes to a standstill. And I found that out by accident. A question is dynamite. And in fact, for years I was telling people, you ever notice in court, the person who asks the questions usually has the power, almost always in every case has the power. The person who asks the question, it would seem like on the surface that the person who's trying to answer has the power. No, the person who asks the question has the power.
Yes, sir.
And it's a whole lot easier than trying to answer a question. That's why lawyers stand up in the middle of everything, sometimes getting the judge on edge. By the lawyers will just blurt out, don't answer that. Why? Because the person who just asked the question, I mean, that question was powerful.
Okay.
Questions have a tendency to just be powerful by them being questioned. I mean, it's the person who's trying to answer that starts fumbling and getting nervous.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
That's why a lot of lawyers will say what? I'm not going to put you on the stand because you are going to be answering questions and you don't know how to answer these questions. So I'm not putting you on the stand or they're going to tear you apart. When you start trying to answer these questions that they're going to put on you, you're going to fall apart. I'm a lawyer. I already know that.
I already know, yeah.
So you let me do all the talking. Don't you say nothing. Don't you say nothing.
Okay.
Most lawyers will say that. Take the fifth, they call it.
Yeah, don't you worry about a thing. Seems like there's a song like that. All right, Muko, yeah, you're on the line. There's some people here that absolutely, I'll just read it. They say, let's go, Muko. In other words, they agree with you. Mr. Fuller, maybe I'm wrong, and I could be wrong, and I do stand to be corrected. But since reading the book and understanding more and more, and by the way, still learning, to me it's real simple. Just produce justice. You wrote the book on how to, the code book, how to. Yeah, questions in there. I mean, every question that's going to come up. How do you do this? How do you do it? The book, produce justice. Maybe it's simple to me. I don't know. But, produce. How do you produce justice? Like you just said, you didn't tell anybody to do it or how to do it. You just made suggestions on what might work or how to do it. That's all. There weren't commands or, as you mentioned, the word dictatorship on how to do it. Produce justice. I don't know. Forget that rant. All right, Muko, you're on. All right, let's see here. Well, you're going to stay on. Okay, we got a new caller alert. Let me see here. Boy, we got Nicole. Okay. In California's in the house. Mr. Hard Balls, California. Bars. Mr. Hard Bars from California. You are getting ready to get on. You can be heard, so get ready. Here you go. All righty. You're on with Mr. Fuller. What is your question?
What's good? Mr. Fuller, you are definitely doing God's work. What's good with you, Mr. Bobby?
Hey, it's all good. Go ahead, brother.
Mr. Fuller, you often say that the white anus is the new black vagina for the black male. And by observing and using logic, you're absolutely fact in today's society. Now I want to ask you, being an older gentleman myself, was the white woman anus the setup for the black man to get him interested in the white man's anus, a.k.a. the new black vagina? Because I say that because being someone in athletics, coming from high school to college, you know what's guaranteed to a black guy when he gets to college? A white woman. And a lot of people don't talk about it, but it's inside ball, no pun intended, that a lot of these white chicks are into Greek style. So I ask you the question again. Because we know white supremacy thinks ahead and plans ahead. So do you think the white woman anus was the setup for the black male to get him to the new black vagina, which is the white man anus? And I'll relax my thoughts there.
It could be, if that's what's happening. Because the whole purpose of the white supremacists here in 2023, of them becoming more refined in what they do, the system of white supremacy is already in place, but they're putting the finishing touches on it. And they say, and I think, according to the evidence, the white supremacists burning midnight oil like they always do, thinking way ahead, 500 years ahead of any black person, all right? They'll say, I think, and according to the evidence I've seen so far, the white supremacists said, what area of activity, economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, war, which one of those 9 areas should we emphasize here in 2023 that will do the most to keep black people in the place we want them to be in for the longest period, subject to us, where their mental capacity won't go any further than what they have right now, and where we're trying to keep it, where they always think on a small scale, and we can always keep them Negroized on that small scale thinking, everything on a small scale, and all of that small scale being something that's non-constructive. How can we keep them that way for the long haul, okay, and the eases? So they looked at economics and they said, how to use the time and energy, we just got that. How we use a black person's time and energy, we got that pretty well sold up. And the education, we got that. Hey, that's a slam dunk. I mean, we teach them what we want them to know, and that we don't want them to know or even think about knowing. We're very well refined and polished in that. So now, what are we not well and polished on? And I think, according to a conclusion I came to some years ago, well, sex is very powerful. Black people, white people, animals of all types think about sex when they're not thinking about food and shelter. They're thinking about sex. They're thinking about sex drive of some type. Alligators think about sex. They go thousands of miles, to mate and all that. They're thinking about, where's my mate? I got plenty of wildebeest around here crossing the river. I grab them by the leg and chew them up. I got plenty of food. I know where my food source is. I got water. Got plenty of that falling down on me, or I can find it. But other than that, birds, seal, penguins go hundreds of miles to get food to bring back so that they can reproduce among the other penguins. So the white supremacists knew all this. So they said, we got to lock black people's sexuality down like we want it, so it serves our purposes. And how do we do that for the long haul? We'll do it using the same formula we use in economics and education and entertainment. Confusion. If you can confuse people in any area of activity, that always gives you strength and makes the other people weaker. The people who are confused are always weak. So we will take sexuality, try to think of every way, everything in the alphabet, LGBTQ, IO, RS, Z, and then even go beyond the alphabet, get into the numbers, number 1, number 2, or well, maybe start with 0, a new type of sexuality. Get there with their wandering minds. They're always looking for something new because they don't like their situation the way it is. So tell them this will be an improvement over that nonsense of a black male with a black female. Now, I'm getting to the crux of your question now. This thing about a black male with a black female, no. Got to have more variety than that. You black people love variety, don't you? Oh, sure you do. You go into the bakery and whatnot, you want to sample everything in there, okay? We know that about you because we train you to be that way, all right? But that's going into a bakery. Well, we haven't done that enough in the area of sex. So we're going to offer you all types of bargain sex that you never even heard of, or never even talked to somebody who heard of somebody who talked to somebody who heard of it, who talked to somebody who heard of it. We're going to brainstorm it while you sleep. And then when you wake up that next morning, we're going to dump it all on you at once. Wash tubs full of it. You ain't going to know which way to go. But we're going to send you off in every type of direction we can think of. And knowing you, if it's something new, you're going to grab it. And when you get a firm grip on it, we're going to seal you into it. And we will have you for another 10,000 years because sex is powerful. And once we mess your mind up in different types of sex, and I'm going to be thinking of different types every 5 weeks or so, and dump that on you, because you are a dumping ground for everything that don't make sense. We got you forever. We don't have to worry about you in nothing else if we get you in sex. The economics, the entertainment, your religion will all fall in line.
Mm-hmm.
You'll have your priests and everybody teaching your babies all the new types of sex and doing it right there behind the pulpit. Because we are smarter than all of you Negroes put together or ever will be, as long as we are using the white supremacist formula, because it is the most successful enterprise in the history of all history.
Yes. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Hard Bars from California. New caller alert. Thank you. Don't be a stranger. You're listening to the Counter Racist Code Show with Mr. Neely Fuller as we wind this bad boy down for this Tuesday, January, June the 27th, 2023 program. Very interesting program, but we have more to come. So stick and stay. Don't go away. Contact number, you know what it is. And by the way, when you get on as a person in the 706 area code, give the call screen of your name so that I can look at it and give you a proper introduction. All righty? But for those who are getting ready or are new to the program, the number is 516-453-9921. Again, press the number 1 button if you want to be heard, and we are definitely efforting to try and get your comment on. I would ask that you be brief because some of them have really not been brief today, but we try to squeeze you in here. But out of respect for Mr. Fuller and out of respect for you, make it brief and concise so that Mr. Fuller can understand it, because as you know, he will say it's his fault when sometimes it may not be that way. But anyway, make it short and sweet so that you can do that. You can also contact me by the Gmail, the numeral 7, Mr. Bobby, BOBBY @gmail.com. You can do that. And then your question it's not going to be read today. I can tell you that for sure. But do that. It will be read. I'll give you a symbol to let you know that I do have it. And you can also join the chat room, and they've been blowing the up out of there. Get in there. Go to blogtalkradio.com. You want to hit programs. You hit programs, and the program you want is the Counter Racist Code or Produce Justice. That's the Counter Racist Code Show with Mr. Neely Fuller. Okay, you get that, and then the chat room becomes available once you get in there. Okay, get that. 2 announcements, Mr. Fuller. 3 announcements. Mr. Fuller's, you can get the book. All the books are in. You know where to go to. ProduceJustice.com. Let me say that again. Don't let it go over your head. ProduceJustice.com is where you go to get the books and materials, and also where the staff has set up the interview that I messed up. I did it. My fault. My hand is raised. I did it when I gave you some erroneous information concerning when Mr. Fuller was going to be on the Carl Nelson show. I got confused. Mr. Fuller usually is on a Thursday, and I said Friday. Found out it was a Thursday. Okay, my bad, y'all. But anyway, that's corrected. It is up on the Internet at ProduceJustice.com, so you can get that interview. And also, Mr. Fuller was on the Rock Newman show. Yeah, he was on there, and I did hear the interview. Some have already heard the interview. Some knew it before I did, but he's on there. That full interview is on there. You can get that. Again, the books and materials are at ProduceJustice.com. And lastly, anybody know the existence of the Extermination Man? Thank you, Daryl Watson. I understand he was on WVON out of Chicago, 1690 AM. If he is on there and you happen to call in, tell him that he can contact Mr. Fuller, because we love hearing him. When Mr. Fuller and I did a show on TalkTainmentRadio.com, by the way, anytime you hear anything on that, Mr. Fuller and I are no longer there. We're here at Produce Justice. But anyway, the Extermination Man would call in there, and he doesn't know how to get in contact with Mr. Fuller. If you are in the Chicagoland area or know the Extermination Man, I don't know his real name, tell him to contact ProduceJustice.com, and he can play catch-up and even call in. We miss him. Okay. All righty. Let's see here. Let me see here. Let's see who's on the line. Okay, yeah. Boy, this brother been waiting, but it's his turn. Corey in Milwaukee. You ready? Get ready. Hey, Luke in the Bronx, we're going to get you. Deontay, hang on there. We're going to get you in here. All right, Corey, here we go. Milwaukee, Corey, gotcha. Go ahead, Corey.
Good morning, Mr. Bobby. Good morning, Mr.
Yes, sir.
Fuller. Mr. Fuller, racism promotes sexual confusion, and if so many of the so-called smartest people are part of the participation and promotion of sexual confusion, could this be a reason why the smartest people are not willing to or wanting to solve the race problem? Can I remain on the line?
Yes, you can. All right, thank you.
Yes, anything that works to give strength to the system of white supremacy, racist man and racist woman are all for it. The white supremacists, want black people to be a weak people, a weak-minded people. I mean, what a lot of people call simple-minded, but I prefer to use the term weak because, you can use the term simple-minded in all different kinds of ways. But whatever the white supremacists do, if a white supremacist who is dedicated to white supremacy and a white person who is dedicated to white supremacy is a white supremacist, they want to stay in business. Now, a lot of white people say, well, I'm tired of this. I'd like to see the race problem just go away, and I'm going to work to do it. But that's not enough, white people who are in that frame of mind. Otherwise, we wouldn't be having this conversation right now. Because racism, if white people wanted to do away with it, it would have been gone. They could do it in 15 minutes. They are just that smart. Why? Why do I say that they're that smart? It's because anything that people put together, they're the most logical people to take it apart. Why? Because they put it together. White supremacy wasn't invented by black people. The system of white supremacy was invented by white people. Not all white people, but those white people who say, this would be an excellent idea to do all of the world's business on the basis of the color of the skin. And it turned out to be the most powerful religious idea and political idea ever to appear in recorded history of all the people, of all the history of the entire world. Nothing is proven to be as efficient as the system of white supremacy. So, the white supremacists say, well, there are so many benefits that go with the system. So you want to get rid of something that has proven to be the most beneficial, directly and indirectly, for everybody? For white people to tell black people what to do about everything, keep them weak, keep them silly, keep them killing each other. And that's what we do. And so why turn loose to it when before then there was more chaos? We have put them under a government that's better than all the governments they'll ever have, or have proven to have that was worth anything. They got a lot of land that they've been walking on and whatnot. They haven't done anything with it that we haven't done. And we did it faster and more efficiently.
Mm-hmm.
The system of white supremacy is the best government of the entire world. For everybody, including all the people who consider themselves as being, and we consider them as being, non-white. And so that's the basis for white supremacy. White people They don't say that directly, but they say it indirectly all day long, everywhere. Well, what's better than us telling you what to do rather than you telling us what to do? Because you don't know anything. We white people know a whole lot more than all of you all put together on your best day. And just a handful of us can run circles around you, which we do. Put chokeholds on you with you standing there looking like you don't know what to do, because you don't. Whatever is done, you got to ask me after I get my foot off your neck, if I choose to take my foot off your neck. And if I pass judgment on whomever did it, I can undo it anytime I want to. And it ain't nothing you can do because you can't deal with me. You can't deal with nothing. You don't know where your next meal is going to come from with your Africanized self and with black skin. All you know is begging me for everything, including that diploma that you're looking forward to getting. Because if it ain't got a white signature on it, it's got one that's been authorized by somebody white. Otherwise, you ain't learned nothing. And you're not going to learn anything anyway except what you get from me. Because you're not able to think on your own. And you're not even thinking about thinking on your own. You love to stand on your head, but you don't love to use your head. You're body people without minds, because I'm your mind. All of you black knuckleheads out there. Mm-hmm. You know it. I don't have to preach it to you. That's what the white supremacists say to us, says to Neely Fuller Jr. every day. I know that they're saying that. And they're telling the truth. They're not making that up. I'm a beggar. I'm a prisoner of war. I was born in their prison. And I'm still a prisoner of war. And I don't kid myself about that. But there is a way to eliminate that prison.
Yes, sir.
And have a system of justice. I believe that.
There's that word again, justice. Okay.
Yes.
All righty. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Corey. Thank you so much. All right, Luke. Luke in the Bronx. You ready? Get ready, because you've been holding for a minute, or maybe two. Luke in the Bronx. Let me see. There you go. Luke, you're on with Mr. Oh, that's Deontay. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Oh, hang on, Deontay. Hang on. I meant to get Luke. Luke in the...
can I be heard?
Wait a minute. Is this Luke?
Yeah, this is Luke.
Oh, okay. There you go. Yeah, you can be heard. Go ahead.
Hey, good morning, Mr. Fuller. Good morning, Mr. Bobby. I just wanted to say again, thank you, Mr. Fuller, for all the hard work you've been putting in for all of your life. My question, Mr. Fuller, is you often talk about how not all white people are white supremacists. Some are not. And I'm curious, in your life experience, Mr. Fuller, have you met white people who are not white supremacists? And if so, what were the qualifications they had? Because I'm having a very difficult time distinguishing. And so I just wanted to know, in your experience, how have you distinguished, and have you found any white people that are not white supremacists? Thank you.
Well, there's some that I know. There's some, in answer to the question, there's some that I know according to logic. See, I follow the logic and the evidence of where the logic takes me. There are newborn babies. I've seen white babies. I watch toddlers all the time, all right? And I'm not a pedophile, but I study people. I have to. And so I observe white toddlers and white babies that are being pushed in strollers. And I say, are they white supremacists? That's a question. Everything is about questions and answers. And logic tells me that baby doesn't know one color from another. And logic tells me, how can you be a white supremacist and you don't know one color from another? You better know your color. if you're a white supremacist. Otherwise, you ain't going to be one. That's the conclusion I came to just looking at a white baby. I mean, this is white as anything you can get. I've seen white babies. I mean, sure enough, white. And so they're white. They're people. Is that a white supremacist I'm looking at in that stroller? No. According to what, Fuller? According to logic. The baby hasn't learned colors yet. Now, when the baby learns colors, that's the beginning of it right there. Because now they're teachable about the difference between one color and another. It's different between white and non-white. That's one of the fundamentals that they will learn when somebody teaches them that. Otherwise, they won't know. Now, there's another group, and that is a senile white person. Now, this white person may have been the leader of 10 organizations that are anti-black all the way, parading up and down the street. The N-word this and the N-word that, wearing all the symbols, swastikas and whatnot, and burnt flaming crosses. I mean, and that's what that person was. But I will look at that person, and I've seen some. I say, now here's a person that had a reputation for being anti-black all the way. Anti-people of color all the way. Or white supremacists, and who bragged about it. But now he had a stroke. And he's being wheeled down the hospital corridor by a black female who's making minimum wage. And this is a wealthy white man who once was a rabid white supremacist. But now what? He doesn't know one color from another. He doesn't know a spoon from a fork. Now, do I go over there and knock him out of the wheelchair because he's now helpless? No, that's not just. And I don't think like that. And I shouldn't. That's the reason I don't. And somebody will say, that's one of the worst racists the world has ever seen. I say, yeah, it was. But he's not there now. So you take people from where they are at
yes,
the
sir.
time that you encounter them. Now, that's code.
Mm-hmm.
You say, yeah, but he did so much damage. I say, but he's not doing it now. So to do harm to him now is to do harm to yourself, because you're going to head in that direction where he is now.
Mm-hmm.
And you think about it before you get there, because it might be a white woman that has to wheel you down the hall. See, we got to be logical people in everything. That's black people's key to all of our problems.
Yes, sir.
We want to do things that defy logic. That's why the white supremacists are still supreme. They are very logical people, but they are using their logic for evil purposes.
Mm-hmm.
We don't want to copy that.
No,
so this
sir.
whole idea of being the best thugs in the world and being known for that, we need to get rid of that idea real quick.
Mm.
We don't want to be thugs. We've been there, done that on a junior level. Now, a lot of us want to be that on a big scale. If we kill 15 people this week, we want to kill 15 million next week. We need to get that out of our heads.
Yes, sir.
Because that's where we are right now.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Being the most destructive people on planet. No, we should be the most constructive people that ever existed. That should be our aim. Problem solvers not the reputation we already have, problem makers.
Problem makers, okay.
If you want to see some problem makers, look for a black person. They'll show you problem making, nonstop. They love making problems.
All righty. Thank you, Mr. Fuller. Seshatas, whatever, I can't pronounce it, number 7, your comment in the chat room is absolutely correct. All right, thank you, Luke, from the Bronx. Deontay in Detroit. Hey, man, guess what? We going to get to you. And Stephanie, California, you hang on because I think you're last on the board. But Deontay, you ready for your question? Here it goes. Let me see, get this cursor over there. Okay, Deontay, you're on with Mr. Fuller. What is your question?
Good morning. I had 3 questions, but for the sake of time, I'm only going to ask 2 quick questions. My first question is, Mr. Neely Fuller Jr., what do you think about seeking counseling as a way to deal with racism?
Everybody seeks counsel. Yeah. When you ask a question, you are doing what? Seeking counsel. So what do I think about getting answers to questions? I think it's the greatest thing you can do. Because then you can solve problems.
Correct.
Now, you seek counsel from everybody who knows how to solve whatever problem you have. That's the fastest way.
Yes, sir.
Someone who already knows the answer to your question. Just like you answered a question, ask a question to me. You didn't think about it probably, but you were seeking counsel. That's what I mean by how to think out of the box and think real quick. Because when you're dealing with the white supremacists, that's how they think.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, yeah, you have to practice. We have to practice thinking and how to conduct ourselves with each other so that we get around some heavyweights. And almost every white person is a heavyweight when it comes to a black person. You can think about what to do and what not to do. And always come up with the solution of whatever problem is being presented. The process is always, that's what you tapped into when you asked that question. Seeking counsel, always seek counsel, 24/7, meaning always find the answer or try to find the answer to every question that is put to you in order to do what? Solve problems.
Solve problems. Okay.
And once we become known to solve problems, black people, that when somebody looks up and see a black person coming through the door, they'll say, oh, here's a problem solver. When you see a black person, you're looking at a person who solves problems. That's almost the definition of black people. Oh, problem solvers. Oh, y'all hiring another problem solver? Okay, send them in. You know, that's where we should be right now. Problem solvers. We're known for that. We're not known for anything else but problem solving.
All right. Deontay, number 2 question quickly. Wait a minute. Okay, Deontay, number 2 question quickly.
Second question is, Mr. Neely Fuller Jr., have you ever rode a roller coaster? Silly question, I just want to know.
No. And it's an excellent question, too, because I was thinking just the other day, 2 days ago. I've been thinking about it ever since. and that is experiences. And I've been thinking about adding to the code. How many experiences do we need to have in order to get the things done that need doing the most?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
How many experiences do I need? I've been to Niagara Falls back in the 1980s. And so I'm thinking back now, going to Niagara Falls, would I want to do that again? And the answer is no. Why? Because I had enough experiences with going to Niagara Falls. I don't need that experience again. Did I need it the first time? Not really. See what I mean?
Yes, sir. I guess you could say that's part of still learning. Thank you, Deontay. Yes, thank you, Mr. Fuller. Thank you, Deontay. All righty, last caller of the day. We got Stephanie, from Cali. Wait a minute, let me see. Okay, Stephanie, thank you for holding. You're on again with Mr. Fuller. What is your question?
Okay, I have a VGQ and a question.
Yeah, okay.
My VGQ is that I agree with Mr. Fuller, because when you talk to them, the white people, they make you confused. I could never understand what was going on, because I would ask them a question, they would give me an answer, and I would leave and say, well, they didn't even answer my question, and now I don't even know what the question was because I got so confused. And then they would loop you. If you keep asking them a question, I found with my experience, they would loop me around. Okay, now my other one is the sexuality, and that is so true. They are confusing the whole male, female. They even got children, babies, and they throwing everybody in the mix, and that is just totally wrong, and I can't go with that. And it's just confusion. And then my question is, now, do you think that we have been programmed and brainwashed not to be able to formulate questions?
Yes.
Okay.
In answer to that question, yes. Totally. It's just whatever you mean by totally. But I say that kind of loosely because at least we're still asking questions, like on this program. And I ask questions all the time. I want to know, why is everything? Where's that bus going? And the people on the bus, who are they? And what are they going to do when they get where they're going? And if I was on that bus, why would I be on that bus? And why would I be going wherever I'm going on that bus? I ask myself questions like that, just walking down the street. There's a bus. Where are the people on that bus going? What is their destination? And what are they going to do? Because everybody wants to do something when they get where they're going. Each one of those individual people. Who are they? Where are they coming from? By getting on that bus and going where they are going, and where are they going? And what are they going to do when they get off that bus?
Yes, sir.
And would I like to be on that bus, and I'm going to go where they're going and do what they do? And then the bottom line question is, in order to accomplish what?
What, yes.
That is of constructive value.
Okay, got to leave it there. Listen, page 171 and 172 in the code book is where you can get that information by going to producejustice.com. That's producejustice.com. Well, we're coming up on the end of the program. Mr. Fuller, thank you for being so kind and to answer the questions and giving us wisdom or suggesting different things. And to the callers, thank you. To the Gmailers, thank you. And to all the people in the chat room, thank you. We made a lot of mistakes again today. We're trying to get better because we're still learning. But help us along, and thank you for your call. Mr. Fuller, ProduceJustice.com for all the books. The last word goes to you.
Well, I'll start with the same thing that I started with this morning. And I'm going to be doing it. And that is the smartest people. Why haven't you solved the race problem? You can talk to white people or black people about that.
Okay.
Who are the smartest people, and why haven't they solved the race problem?
All righty. Got to leave it there, but we hope to do better next week. Thank you, Mr. Fuller. Thank you, callers. We'll see you next week.